Ladies and gentlemen, sprinting fans across the globe, welcome back. There are some sprint races you watch, and then there are races that make you stop and ask, who is that? On July 4th, 2026, the answer came flying around the track at Hayward Field, an 18-year-old American teenager, Tate Taylor. He wasn't even supposed to be in this race. Standing beside him, Letsile Tebbogo, reigning Olympic 200-meter champion, a field loaded with athletes who'd already competed on the biggest stages the sport has. But when the gun fired, Taylor didn't run like a last-minute call-up. He ran like someone who believed the race already belonged to him. 19.75 seconds, a personal best, into a headwind. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. Taylor wasn't in this race to begin with. The teenager everyone expected to be in that lane, Australia's Gout, had scratched days earlier with a back injury. Taylor got the call. And he didn't just fill the spot, he turned it into the biggest moment of his life. If stories like this are why you're here, athletes who show up when nobody's watching and leave as the headline, go ahead and hit subscribe now. This is exactly what this channel does. But to understand how a teenager ends up beating an Olympic champion, you have to go back. Years before Hayward Field, before any of the records, before anyone outside San Antonio knew his name. Tate Taylor grew up between San Antonio and the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he's never been shy about where he's from. He's talked about wanting to represent his community wherever he goes. Not hide it, not tone it down, just be himself and let that speak for him. The track wasn't just a hobby, it was a plan. Taylor has said that early on he understood something a lot of gifted young athletes take years to figure out. That speed, done right, is universal. It doesn't matter what state you're from or what your family can afford. If you're fast enough, doors open. And Taylor wanted to open one specific door. He didn't want his parents carrying the weight of a college bill. If he got good enough, the sport would pay for it. That mindset shows up off the track too. Taylor kept his grades up through all of this. The record-breaking, the travel, the media attention. Because the plan was never just about running fast. It was about not needing anyone to bail him out later. It starts at Harlan High School, with a freshman just trying to find out how fast he could get. His first real season, 2023, wasn't a highlight reel. He opened at 11.25 for 5th place. 2 weeks later, 11.30. Modest times, nothing that would make you stop scrolling. Then something clicked. By the spring, he dropped to 10.58 for a district win. A week after that, a wind-aided 10.59 at the regional meet. Freshmen don't usually shave off that much time in a single season. Taylor did. 2024 kept the momentum going. He opened the year at 10.61. By May, at the UIL State Championships, he dropped to 10.28, good for runner-up in the 100 meters, with a 21.15 in the 200 meters for 4th. That summer at the USATF Junior Olympics, he ran 10.23. Indoors, at New Balance Nationals, he'd already posted a 21.05 in the 200 meters and a 6.75 in the 60 meters. The times were good. They weren't yet extraordinary. At the Texas UIL Class 6A State Championships, Taylor stepped into the blocks for the 100 meters and ran 9.92 seconds. Wind legal. The fastest 100 meters ever run by a U.S. high schooler. At 17 years, 7 months old, he became the youngest sprinter in history to break the 10-second barrier. Hours later, on the same track, he added the 200 meters, 20.14 seconds, completing a double no one had done at that level before. Indoors that same year, he'd already run 20.46 in the 200 meters at Nike Indoor Nationals, a national record, along with a 6.64 in the 60 meters. At Nike Outdoor Nationals, he added a 10.10 win in the 100 meters, in cold, rainy conditions that should have slowed him down and didn't. By the end of the year, the recognition caught up to the results. Taylor was named the 2025 Gatorade National Boys Track and Field Player of the Year. That's when the recruiting circus really started. Coaches from programs across the country made the trip to San Antonio. Official visits, home visits, the whole process that turns a teenager's life into a national storyline before he's even finished high school. Taylor has said the pressure of it never really got to him, that he leaned on his faith and stayed patient, and that he genuinely appreciated every coach who reached out, even the ones he turned down. In the end, it was Texas Tech that got him. Not necessarily the biggest brand name in the sport, but the one that felt, in his words, like a hungry family. A room full of athletes who were just as good as him, or better, and weren't afraid to say so. Head coach Wes Kitley made his pitch, and it worked. And then Taylor made a decision that changed the entire shape of his story. He wasn't going to finish his final high school season. Most seniors dream about one last state title, one last race in front of a hometown crowd. Taylor walked away from his because he wanted something bigger. He wanted to race the professionals, guys like Noah Lyles and Kenny Bednarek, athletes his own club coach warned him wouldn't exactly be rolling out the welcome mat. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about chasing the pros as a teenager. The higher you climb, the fewer people in the room are actually rooting for you. Taylor's own coaches said it out loud at his signing ceremony. As he moved up, he'd find fewer rooms where everyone wanted him to win. Quick pause here. If this is your first time on this channel, this is exactly the kind of full-arc storytelling we do, not just highlight clips. Subscribe now so the rest of this story lands in your feed. That gamble is where 2026 stopped being a high school story. In April, at the Tom Jones Invitational in Gainesville, Florida, Taylor ran 20.05 in the 200 meters, breaking a national high school record that had stood since 2016. The name on that old record, Noah Lyles. Lyles was in the building, and after the race, he told Taylor directly, "Turn pro now. Skip college. Take the money and the platform while the world is watching." Taylor's answer was simple. He'd do it his way, go to college first, and then one-up him. 6 weeks later, on June 6th, at the USATF Lone Star Grand Prix, Taylor ran 19.97 in the 200 meters, the first U.S. high schooler in history to break 20 seconds. 3 weeks after that came Hayward Field, the gout scratch, the phone call, the lane assigned to someone else's misfortune. But it almost didn't go the way the highlight reel suggests. In the rounds leading up to the final, Taylor ran a rough 20.40, by far his slowest mark of the entire season. If you were only watching the prelims, you'd have thought the fairy tale was already over. Nerves, maybe. The occasion, maybe. Either way, it didn't matter. Finals are a different animal, and Taylor knew it. The field around him in that final told you everything about the level he was suddenly racing at. Tebogo, the Olympic champion. Makanakaishe Charamba, Courtney Lindsay, Brian Level, Zarnell Hughes, Sam Blaskowski, Jose Figueroa. Professionals who had spent years learning exactly what it feels like to run under real pressure. The gun fired. Taylor attacked the bend and never let up. 19.75. Tebogo followed in 19.93. Charamba took third in 20.11. Only 2 teenagers in history have ever run the 200 meters faster than Taylor did that day. Arion Knighton at 19.49, a mark that was never ratified, and Gout himself at 19.67, set earlier that same season on the other side of the world. 0.08 of a second separated Taylor from the athlete who wasn't even supposed to be watching from the sideline. 2 teenagers, 2 countries. A rivalry that basically wrote itself out of an injury that was never supposed to happen. Afterward, Taylor kept it simple. The first thing he thought crossing the line was, "Look at God." He's not shy about that faith either. It comes up in almost every interview he gives, along with the 2 chains he wears every time he races. One was a reward from his coach. The other he found online for about $15, just because he liked the way it looked. Small details, but they tell you something. For all the records, he's still an 18-year-old figuring out who he wants to be. But he still had unfinished business. The 2026 World Athletics U20 Championships. Home soil. Hayward Field again. 5 days, 3 finals, 1 chance to prove Eugene wasn't a fluke. The 100 meters came first. Taylor crossed in 9.94 seconds, a personal best and gold. He held off Jamaica's Gary Card, who took silver in 10.05. It made Taylor the first American man to win the World U-2100 meters title since 2016. The same year, Noah Lyles won it. 2 days later came the 200 meters, the race everyone actually wanted to see. Could he reproduce 19.75? He didn't just reproduce it, he dominated it. 19.83 seconds, a championship record, gold. Teammate Blake Hamilton took silver in 20.31, with Barbados's Jaden Green third in 20.55. One event was left, the relay. Team USA needed an anchor for the 4x100 meters final. Taylor took the baton, already in the lead, and blazed the final leg. Blake Hamilton, Dylan Mitchell, Kyler, Brown, and Taylor crossed in 38.16 seconds, a World U20 record, smashing a mark that had stood since 2021. 3 golds, 4 days. The first man in the 40-year history of the World U20 Championships to sweep the sprint treble, 100 meters, 200 meters, and the relay. 14 months earlier, Tate Taylor was a junior trying to win a state title in Texas. But the stopwatch doesn't tell the whole story. Behind every 9.94, there are training sessions nobody films, family sacrifices nobody posts about, bad days, injuries, and setbacks that never make the highlight reel. And now, a level of expectation most 18-year-olds never have to carry. Taylor heads to Texas Tech this fall, not the pros. Not yet. But his own college coach has already said the quiet part out loud. If Taylor keeps running like this, 1 year in Lubbock might be all anyone gets before he's gone pro. Kitley has admitted it himself. He got Taylor registered for classes, got him settled on campus, and still isn't fully convinced the kid stays past year 1. Because waiting at the end of this road is Los Angeles, the 2028 Olympic Games. Imagine Taylor walking into that stadium at 20 years old, not as an unknown teenager anymore, not as the high schooler everyone's still trying to figure out, as someone who already has a World U20 treble, a Diamond League win over an Olympic champion, and a rivalry with the fastest teenager on the planet, built entirely by accident out of someone else's bad back. Noah Lyles, Letsile Tebogo, Gout, Ariane Knighton, and whoever else shows up between now and then. Because that's what makes this sport addictive. Every race can change everything, even the ones you were never supposed to be in. The clock keeps running, and Tate Taylor keeps getting faster. If this story hits differently, subscribe and turn on notifications. This channel is only getting started covering the athletes who are about to change this sport. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you in the next one.